Hello, very warm welcome to today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the fact that, well, what is a digital accountant? How do you prove yourself to be digital? What makes it easier for you to be digital? That's what we want to look at today. Now, the phrase digital accountant can mean lots of different things, but in my world, what I want to talk about is the fact that it's about making yourself digitally available to your client. What can you do to make that super straightforward, super simple, and ultimately mean that you can help your client in a more digital and hopefully more efficient way? Well, with that, we're going to go and have a look and see exactly what it means to be a digital accountant, figure all that out, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on the line. Roll the VT. Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Patrick. I am a chartered accountant, a certified UK trainer of fancy new logo, that QuickBooks Chap on the internet, head of accounts here at Boffix, and also your friendly podcaster who goes live each and every Monday morning for Ask the Accountant. And today's video is all about giving you tips and tricks on how to be digital or how to be better at being digital. Just talking about how I am a digital accountant and how I've achieved it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go into it. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about is all about the world of Microsoft. You see, you can do this in many different ways being digital, but I find that if you stay in one ecosystem, you'll get a much more better response out of it. And the reason I like the Microsoft ecosystem is just because we started out with it, so we've got a lot of stuff already in there. Microsoft Excel, Windows, PowerPoint, all that sort of stuff we were using anyway. So we were already having to subscribe to their Office 365 subscription. And when you start subscribing to that, what they try and do is to limit the blow of just having it all and then having to go into it. You actually get lots and lots of little extras in there. And their whole point is they want to incentivize you, right? Give you some extras to put in there. So one of those extras is, if you have your Office 365 account, is the bookings calendar. Now, the reason the bookings calendar can be so powerful is because it gives you an opportunity to send a link to a client and let them book a time that's suitable for them. More importantly as well, in some circumstances, is also suitable for you because you'll only have available the time slots you have available. But ultimately, it comes to a position where a client can come along and they can book times. And the way we've set it up is we have all these different service options. It gets a little bit confusing, so we have to kind of walk them through in the first time on the onboard and everything else. But ultimately, this gatekeeps and it triages all of the work that we have, so then clients go and pick the times they need. And every time we send something out, we send this one link to them, and that kind of trains them, gets them understanding of what works for them. But the idea would be that they can go in, and if they need to have a service consultation, so they're thinking about, changing some of the services, or they want to add some more on, or whatever the reason's going to be. And the idea then is that they can then go down, book the times and dates that works for them, put in a bit of information, select if they want to have it with a particular person on some circumstances and some services, and then they get to choose if they want a telephone call or a Microsoft Teams meeting. Makes it super simple. And what we do is we make sure that this link pretty much goes out with everything we do. And what it does is we try and give an opportunity for our clients to use this as their first port of call. We even have a talk to a Boffix expert, just a 15-minute call. Ideally, there's going to be multiple slots every single day for people to book in. So instead of picking up the phone and calling us where they might catch us off guard, or the person they need to speak to is not available, or whatever the reason is going to be, we always encourage our clients to booking a call. Normally, pretty much it's going to be the same day that they'll get to book in that call. But that way, it gives them the opportunity to be able to pick a time that works for them, pick a time that works for us, and means if we've got to do anything like maybe find a little bit of information out, or figure out where a particular position in the job's going to be, or whatever information we need to complete and help the client, we're going to be able to do that straight away. So we love this whole aspect of it. And that means that we can be purely digital. We know every time we open up our calendar what slots are available. We know what times clients want to have meetings with us, and it just makes it so much easier. So highly recommend, and there's loads available out there. Bookings from Microsoft is just one of those examples. Highly recommend having a look at getting yourself in there. Really does make you feel more digital than ever before. It's one of the best decisions here at Boffix we ever did. So have a look at getting one yourself. Let's have a look at the next one. So the next one for me is something we've only started using. So we're only really getting to grips with how it works. So I've done a whole video lately on what Copilot can bring, but I'm just really bringing this back into the foray because I genuinely believe this is a huge opportunity that you can make sure that you get information. So you're just looking at the prompts that's here. Track your tasks, so you can make sure that any tasks that you got outstanding, it can kind of give you some information on it. Summarize team messages when you're going to go on a bit more on Teams in a moment. Get calendar in here. When's my next meeting with a particular person, or how does my calendar look at this point in time? Again, we're in that ecosystem, right? So I'm using Microsoft to do my bookings. Now it has information, or at least it will do later down the line. It's a little bit lacking at the moment. Help me write, that's really useful for just helping you maybe get some context out there that you're struggling to get the context out for, and prep for that meeting. All of these little things like this really do help us be able to completely streamline what we have. So for us, this whole Copilot element, the whole idea that as soon as I've had a meeting, I can then ask Copilot, summarize that meeting for me, get those points in there. We can then action those points or set reminders and email people who are involved in that conversation. It just streamlines the whole process. And it means that I don't have to be chained to my desk to be able to provide the service. I can be out and about and I can take a call, or I can grab a Teams meeting or whatever I need to do. But then I have that confidence that doesn't matter what circumstance I'm in, I can then at some point make sure Copilot can go through and ensure that we summarize what that meeting is going to be. It's been really, really powerful. In my opinion, I've still yet to really find the full use and full capability of the AI. I was a little bit frustrated with it to begin with, but the more I've started to use it, the more I've started to see those little bits that make it really useful. And especially, again, if you're in this ecosystem, it just makes your life easier. And that takes me to the next part, which is Microsoft Teams. Okay, so Microsoft Teams. Now, I feel like Microsoft Teams might get a bit of a bad rep sometimes, because I think a lot of people don't really know what the full capabilities of what Microsoft Teams can be. But what I see Microsoft Teams is basically our office digitalized in every single manner. So first and foremost, yes, it's a great tool for talking to one another in your teams. That's kind of the main point of it, right? If you think of Slack or anything like that, this is what this is designed to do. It's that Slack-esque element to it. Instead of having to write an email to one another, quickly jump on a chat and you can ask questions. Like, the amount of team messages that I get is ridiculous, but that's a good thing, right? Because that's the team members asking questions or clarifying things and moving things around. That's what the whole point of Teams is going to be. And for training purposes and for giving guidance and for helping team members out, that's exactly what Teams is designed for. And I absolutely love it for that. Because if you're sending questions back and forth and it's getting a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure they've quite understood what we're saying, well, you just click another button and you're on a call to them, talking them through it, sharing screens, the lot. The communication side of Teams is where it starts, but that's not where it finishes. You see, for us, Teams is also where we have those conversations to a client. So every time we have a conversation with the client, it will be via Teams in one way or another. Now, remember back in the bookings where we ask if they want a Teams meeting or do they want a telephone call? Well, if they have a Teams meeting, it goes through Teams, makes that straightforward. And a little tip on how to make those Teams meetings more engaging in a moment. But they also have the opportunity, and anyone in the team have the opportunity to go and make a phone call via Teams as well. So I can literally go in, call a number here, press call, and before I know it, I've now got a call coming through on my mobile. And I can make that phone call anyone to any person. So Teams becomes so much more powerful, because what that also means is it's not just something I can make a call like I did just then, hands-free, keeps it simple, straightforward, I can make a call really quickly, but also I have the power of that on my mobile devices, on any device I have that has Teams as well. So from my Teams app on my phone, I can go ahead and make those same calls. At any point, I now have my office telephone number in my palm of my hand. And it doesn't matter what device I pick up, I can do exactly the same. I can go through on iPads, on phones, on Android, whatever I need to do. I can pick up a device, as long as it has access to Teams, I then can call my teammates, call clients, pick up calls that are going to the Boffix number. I have all of that capability no matter where I am. So if I'm being a bit nomadic, or I've got a meeting, I've got to go physically to the client, or I'm out and about for whatever reason, I know that I've got a spare hour or so, I can get on with work, but I can also get productive just as I was sat here, right in my office. And that means that it doesn't matter what I'm doing, where I am, I can still be able to be involved, go there. We've got conference season coming up lately. That means that I may need to take a call, or I may need to make a phone call to a client because something might have cracked off. Well, if I do need to make a call, that's going to be super straightforward. I pick up any of the devices I've got that's connected to Teams, make that call, I'm done. None of this having to worry about, well, I'll have to make that call when I get back because I need to make it through the office call, or I don't want to make it on my mobile phone number because then they'll have my mobile number and I don't want that because it's going to be awkward. I just can call at any point through there. So we use it for that as well. But that's not all we use Teams for. Teams for us as well is the place where we have all of our documents stored. So we have a whole knowledge base of all the information that we need. We have all our HR stuff in there as well, like policies and all that sort of stuff that might be needed. We have all of our client files as well. So every single client on Boffix has a file, has an element to it, and it's all based in Teams. And the reason we use Teams is because then we can sync it to any device we want, anywhere we have. Again, I can grab my mobile out and I can go in and I can go see some working papers I need to, or look into a letter that a client's just received. I have access to all of that from here. And what Teams then discover, if you start putting things like working papers and everything into there, just a much cleaner interface to use it with. Yes, you can use OneDrive for business and all those sort of things, or SharePoint, or whatever the solution you want. But ultimately, Teams is exactly that same technology, just wrapped in such a much more user-friendly piece of tech. So at any point I can jump in and I can start looking at files and I can start playing around with them. I can go and make sure that I can look at clients and go and have a look at those client folders, go into that information. I can sync it with my computer if I need to. I need to have a physical copy of it. I can copy the link to put it in a Teams message. I can even Teams someone in Teams about a particular information. So if I'm looking at a file, I'm like, well, this doesn't make much sense. I don't know what they've done here. I'm a bit confused. Well, directly from that file, I can then at that person, send them a message, and they can reply. And they know exactly what I'm talking about because it links them to that file as well. That whole ecosystem just makes things easier. And again, if I need to have a call with that person, because I'm a bit like, again, I don't know what's going on here, have a call with them, have that opportunity to talk to them, have that chance to share the screen. They can see that exact file. Any device I pick up, I'll have the same access to it. So becoming a digital accountant, becoming digital one bit, is only possible if all those files and everything are all accessible by the cloud. And for me, that's where this becomes really powerful. Yes, QuickBooks is so amazing to us because we have access to our clients' data. But actually, Teams is even more important to us because that's how we communicate and talk to one another. That's how we make the decisions on clients' information. That's how we make the decisions on what we should do for them next. That's how we make sure that we're on top of everything. And if it wasn't for Microsoft Teams, I wouldn't be able to be digital. I wouldn't have that opportunity because I wouldn't be able to have those meetings with them and have a confidence I have access to the files. And speaking of those meetings, if I'm in a meeting and I need information relating to that meeting, guess what? It's already in Teams for me because it's already in the client files, waiting for me to be able to grab the information and off to the races. I couldn't tell you enough. Microsoft Teams has changed the way that we do it. And what we also like is its integrations as well. We have it integrated to our solution called HubSpot, which is our CRM solution. That's where all our communication with clients come into. So every time a client sends any form of information, either a call, a Facebook message, or an email, whatever it's going to be, goes in HubSpot as a ticket. Well, thankfully, I then get told about that via Teams. So Teams becomes my notification hub as well. Client X has just replied, or client B has just said that they want to do this, or I've been assigned a ticket about client C. All of that information I can find straight into Teams. So as long as I've got Teams activated, I've got no notifications coming along, I'm on the pulse. I know exactly what's going on. And that really, really makes things more powerful for me because then I can react to what I need to react to, and I can then maybe snooze what I don't need to react to straight away. But then I'm always making those decisions based on actual proper information, not, oh, I best go and check HubSpot now because I best make sure there's nothing's happened. It's, oh, HubSpot needs me because of X, Y, Z. Let's go and get it done. And that is really, really important. And my final tip is a new bit of tech that we've just had a look at Boffix, and I think this is going to revolutionize the way that we deliver meetings. It's called a prompter, which has lots and lots of uses for. Mainly you'll see prompters as that opportunity to be able to look into the camera and be able to read what's going on, right? Works really well for that. Great, wonderful, but that's not what we're looking at it for in this. What we're looking at for in this is how can we have a better communication with a client? You see, normally, if I was to talk to my client now, I'd actually be looking here because this here, as my eyesight's going here, this is where I can see all the information I need to look at, which is fine. And I know Apple does a really good job. It's actually got this technology, if you'll see, where it's following me around. And the reason we went for this, or I decided to go for this, was because, well, if it's following me around, then it's going to have a much more natural element where it's trying to see where I am. But ultimately, I'm now looking here, not here. So here's where the camera is, and straight ahead of me is where the information is. So I don't feel like I'm that connected. I'm looking at the person, or I'm looking at the information there. I'm not looking directly as they can see me. So that was something that was always frustrating about being digital, right? Having that connection. Well, look at this. Now look at me. Doesn't it look like I'm looking directly at you? I'm looking directly at what you can do. That's because that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm now looking directly at you because that's where the screen is. That's what I can see straight away. And it's using that technology called Prompter. If I get my phone out, I'll show you exactly what I can see. So as you can see here, the way the prompter works is that the camera's behind this screen here. This is a glass piece of screen reflecting basically this image here. And what's clever about this prompter, because we've used prompters in the past, but they've always been a bit finicky to set up, but not with this one. With this one, it's actually really straightforward, because with this one, what we're able to do is we're able to go in and basically figure it out. Like I now, with this piece of software, I can now control it via my Stream Deck and have that all set up nicely and have everything else. I can have it as a typical prompter if I want to. So within the settings, I can go around and I can set it to be everything I need it to be. It can be a proper prompter where it's going down and it's got all the words on if I need to. But what I like the most about this, and it's the only one that I found on the market that does this, is the fact that it just becomes a second monitor, right? So basically what you see here is this is just a monitor. Like I've got a fourth monitor now on my setup, and I can put what I want on here. And if I put my meeting on here, just like I'm kind of showing here with this mock-up, I now have an opportunity to see exactly what's going on in the meeting. I can put whatever I want on here. Ultimately, it's just a monitor, right? So I can do what I want with it. And what that means is I can have these conversations. I'm sat here, right in here, basically right in front of the client. The client is sat in front of me and I'm having that conversation with them, and I have the opportunity to talk to them. I can bring it up closer. I can put it wherever I need to do. I've got full opportunity to bring this in as I need it, as I would want it to be, so that I can have those conversations. And instead of having to look kind of up here or anything else, I'm looking directly at the client. And I think this makes this a far more digital approach than we've ever had before. This to me looks like and feels like a proper meeting. This looks to me like I'm talking to the person. I'm talking directly at the person. I'm not having to worry about, well, what if they don't feel like I'm talking to them? What if they feel like I'm not listening to them or anything else? I'm having that communication with, I'm talking to them. And this technology here for me just makes it so much easier. Instead of having to set things up and move things around, and literally I click 2 buttons and I'm off to the races. I wouldn't have it on all the time. I can switch it off when I don't need it. But when I do need it, when I have the opportunity to have these conversations, this is how I want to have my conversations with clients. I can grab my iPad and actually talk to them and take notes with them while looking at them. They can see what I'm doing. They can see that I'm involved. I can see that I'm listening to them. I just feel like this is a much more connection. If you're trying to be that digital accountant, you want to have that communication with them. To me, this is how it should be done. What do you think? Do you think this works? Do you think this is a gimmick? Do you think this is a waste of our time? Let me know. Do you think this is how we should be communicating with one another, as opposed to kind of having this whole, looking down here when actually you should be looking up there? What works for you? And anything else you feel like needs to be involved to be that digital accountant? Love to know your thoughts and feelings. Let me know in the comment section below. But for now, this has been our video on how to be a digital accountant. Hope it's been useful for you. If it has, make sure you like, subscribe, and all that sort of stuff. And if you've got any questions, don't forget to use the question box to let us know. My name has been Aaron Patrick. This video has been an absolute pleasure to do for you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.